Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a continuation of the two previous sequels, namely Guardians of the Galaxy, which was released in 2014, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which was released in 2017, continuing the story of the Guardians of the Galaxy, namely Peter Quill and friends, who now inhabit the narrow base called Nowhere. But while living a comfortable life, they are suddenly attacked by a mysterious man named Adam, and there was a fight between them, but it turned out that Adam was very strong and not comparable to them. Adam manages to injure Rocket, a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, getting an attack that was fatal enough to make Rocket seriously and critically injured. Quill and Mantis, who try to treat Rocket with medical equipment, are unable to do much when they learn that Rocket has a kill switch implanted in his body, which has been planted by Orgacorp, a company led by a mad scientist called High Evolutionary, who also created Rocket from an ordinary raccoon to an extraordinary raccoon. They also go to Orgacorp headquarters to find a replacement code for the button so they can save Rocket's life. As Rocket lies unconscious, he remembers his past as a baby raccoon, who later became a high evolutionary test object, who has the ambition to create a new life from the animal he turned into a human, to be placed in a place called Counter-Earth. When he became an experimental animal, Rocket met other experimental animals, namely an otter named Lilla, a seal named Teefs, and a rabbit named Floor. A high evolutionary is impressed by Rocket's rapidly growing intelligence, but later the high evolutionary feels that Rocket is getting too smart, even more than him. After successfully creating the desired creature, the high evolutionary intends to take Rocket's brain and use it to develop his invention. Rocket, who realized that he and his three friends were being threatened, then tried to escape. But the high evolutionary found out about this and killed his three friends. When his three friends were killed, Rocket was furious and scratched the high evolutionary's face sadistically. Then Rocket escapes in his spaceship.
Down here.
Back to the present, where Quill and other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy are trying to infiltrate Orgacorp to steal data that contains the unlock code embedded in Rocket's body, assisted by Gamora, who is still alive after being sacrificed by Thanos in the previous film. They managed to infiltrate Orgacorp and retrieve data containing the unlock code to save Rocket, but unfortunately, after opening the code that was looking for in the data, it turned out that it had been deleted by the High Evolutionary. Quill and the other members of the Guardians decide to take the code from a High Evolutionary member, which is currently in Counter-Earth, but apparently Adam and his mother secretly followed them, which turns out that Adam and his mother are also creatures of the High Evolutionary, which is currently assigned to capture Rocket, because the High Evolutionary is still wants Rocket's intelligence. Adam and his mother couldn't do much, because if they didn't follow orders, the High Evolutionary threatens to exterminate their race called Sovereign. After getting instructions, Quill, Nebula, and Groot decide to visit a fort named Areta. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Adam, who had already found the location of their plane, headed straight there to kidnap Rocket. But luckily Gamora managed to save Rocket. Quill and Groot, who were already in Areta, met the High Evolutionary, and a battle ensued between them. Quill and Groot managed to escape and take with them a High Evolutionary man who has Rocket's unlock code, but Drax, Mantis, and Nebula, who think Quill and Groot are still inside, try to get inside Areta to save them. Quill, who managed to get the code he was looking for, immediately used the code to save Rocket, who was critical.
Okay, here we go.
Quill immediately uses the code to deactivate the kill switch and revive Rocket's heart. On the other hand, after successfully entering Areta, Drax, Nebula, and Mantis encounter hundreds of genetically modified humanoid children created by the High Evolutionary, but they were caught. Quill, who knew about this, immediately moved to save them. With the help of Gamora, Groot, and Rocket, who had recovered, they immediately fought hard. Quill also contacted other members who were at the Nowhere base to bring the base to attack Areta. The High Evolutionary, who was still obsessed with catching Rocket, did everything he could to succeed, but it turned out that his men, who felt the boss's ambitions were no longer reasonable, rebelled because they were fed up. The High Evolutionary, who felt betrayed, immediately slaughtered them with his power. After going through quite a fierce battle, finally Quill and his friends were able to save Drax, the Mantis, and the Nebula, but they lost Rocket, who was trying to save the baby raccoons. When he was about to bring baby raccoons, Rocket was confronted by High Evolutionary and there was a fight between them.
Rocket, Raccoon.
which was then assisted by others. After defeating the High Evolutionary, they headed to the Nowhere headquarters, but an incident occurred and almost got Quill killed. Luckily Adam saved him because he changed his mind after being saved by Groot from Aerith, who was about to be destroyed. After all these incidents, Quill also decided to leave the Guardians of the Galaxy and appointed Rocket as captain in his place, because Quill wants to return to Earth to meet his grandfather, likewise with Mantis, who goes out to start his journey of self-discovery. Meanwhile Nebula and Drax remained on Nowhere to raise the rescued children. And after being abandoned by the old members, the Guardian of the Galaxy, which is now led by Rocket, has new members.
On your work, Captain.
From the storyline to the action seasoned with their signature comedy, plus the story of Rocket's past, which turned out to be very heartbreaking, this is an added value and makes this film richer in unexpected surprises. Of all these aspects, it can be said that Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the best film of the two previous sequels, maybe even from some other Marvel movie.